Hello, it's Scott Manley here, and thanks to the folks over at Fortnightly Frontier, I have access to a Vanduul Scythe. And it is actually a surprisingly large ship, at least in profile. It looks pretty huge. Look at the size of that gun there, and there's another... Wow, that's an even bigger gun there. And of course, this thing has a whole wing. Now, you might say, why does this thing have a wing in space? It's not a wing, it's a giant knife designed for ramming things and things like that. Basically, the Vanduul are an alien race that have been kind of running around human space and raiding colonies, and they are obsessed with knives. Like, it's their one kind of thing that holds their society together is a love of knives. Look at that. I have to say, so this model, you know, the Scythe has been in the game for a long time. It has been in since the very first Arena Commander, but we've never been able to land and fly these things. This is... I actually don't know how to get into this. I mean, I think the modelling on this is really showing a great deal of love. If I can just find the button to get my way in. Darn alien spaceships, do they not have, like, descriptions in English? Oh, wait, there's the little laser guns on the front. You guys are wimpy. The other guns are clearly a whole lot better here. Yeah, the Vanduul... Oh, there we go. Come on. Open it up. Yes. Making noise. Oh, there it comes. Ooh, and we come down here. Now, the flight position in this is unlike the other spacecraft. The Vanduul fly it kind of on their hands and knees, which is really interesting. Now, this is actually a suboptimal way to fly. Well, the flight position is really not good for human physiology, but for aliens, wow. You can see that there's a lot of room left in that cockpit. The Vanduul are significantly taller than your average human. Now, what is that at the back of the cockpit? Is that what passes for a toilet in Vanduul society? I don't know. A lot of the other ships have toilets, so it would be logical to have that be an alien toilet. But yeah, I think this looks marvellous. Yeah, the model's been in the game for a while, but they haven't really made it accessible for the few hundred people that actually bought a Vanduul Scythe, or the subscribers who get access. So this is really the first time we see it up close and get to play with it and everything. And they've done a bang-up job on making this thing look good. Now, how does it fly? Well, first thing to notice is this awesome heads-up display, which starts out in alien, and then the human virus kicks in and it switches over to English. I'm not sure if that's the exact explanation, but I don't doubt there is someone out there writing up a fanfic explaining exactly how the heads-up display works. No, I like it. I think it's cool. I think also having the red colours is an interesting, to emphasise the fact that we're talking about alien tech here. These are aliens that may have different optical systems, they may have different sensitivity to colour. And the thing, it flies about as fast as the Merlin I was flying in the previous look, the other ship that was released or added in this release. But I find it a whole lot jittery. All the same, I think I can fly slightly faster. It does turn a lot faster than the other spacecraft, although its top speed is only 240. Now, yeah, I was saying the flight position on your knees, that's kind of interesting from a G-force point of view, because it means that slowing down is what causes you to red out, and accelerating fast is what causes you to black out, whereas the other forces tend to be lateral to you, so you don't feel them so much. However, in the real world, laying on your stomach under high G situations is about the worst thing possible. And this was something that was pointed out. If you've ever read the Tintin stories, the Tintin moon rocket, the crew are doing that. They have these couches that let them lay face first. That was a big mistake on the part of the author, who had misinterpreted some other diagrams from actual space scientists. But all the same, it is a wonderful Tintin story. Anyway, okay, so we flew reasonably well. Armament on this Well, the armament, as I pointed out, there's these couple of laser cannons down the front, and then there's a big plasma cannon and a giant neutron cannon. And yeah, we can switch out these laser cannons. I'm not sure you could actually switch these things out. I didn't try it because I wanted to try it with the default ammunition. We have missiles, which work relatively well, I would presume. However, when I actually tried to fly this, and after lots of practice, I just had the worst time flying it. I think the thing turns just too fast, and look, you'll see, 10 minutes in and I hadn't got a single kill. This was just painful for me. I was a really... I'm not saying the ship is bad, I'm certainly not saying the ship is bad. I think I am a terrible pilot. Obviously, having... One of the problems is that there's 3 different speeds of weapons, and the way I had my joystick set up, I was unlikely to get all my guns on the target at once. But it also seemed that when I finally did get my guns on the target for the limited amount of time, then everything would overheat. So I had just a terrible time, and I did not enjoy flying with it. I actually, my eyes ended up itching terribly because I was concentrating so hard trying to keep this thing straight. Maybe there's a way to adjust it with the joystick. I'm certainly not writing off the spacecraft at anytime soon. I love the looks of it. I love the sound effects. I love the weapon systems, but I cannot fly it for toffee. I'm glad I didn't pay several $100s so I would have the privilege of having lifetime insurance on one of these things, because while it is cool, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it in terms of bang for the buck. All the same, it does feel fun to be shooting down other Vanduul fighters in this very same model. Now, if you haven't noticed by now, the Vanduul name is actually supposed to be a play on the Vandals. The Vandals were basically a Germanic tribe which, were quite successful in Europe, and famously sacked Rome in 455, I think. So, they heavily contributed to the downfall of the Roman Empire, and given that Star Citizen is kind of styling itself, or the culture they're styling itself after is essentially Roman Empire, you can see the parallels here. This is me trying to fly it using the mouse. I was slightly more successful with the mouse, but it was, again, I couldn't get the joystick set up, I couldn't get the mouse set up, and it was taking me about 5 to 10 minutes per ship just to kill these things. But the other question I hear you ask is, since this has a giant wing blade on it, can you use it? I have no idea, because the only times I ever managed to hit a target was in a completely uncontrolled manner. Here's me trying to take this target down, and look, he's flying in a straight line, so it should be super easy to hit, except that it's not, because I can't quite make that last tiny adjustment to get the lasers on target. And then eventually, he turns around and you see again different shield effects there. They have red shield restore effects. And I hit it, but obviously the wing blade didn't do anything. In fact, the wing blade had probably been knocked off by this point. The wing blade is always the first thing that gets knocked off, truthfully. It's always quite amusing to shoot a Vanduul fighter out of the sky and then watch as the wing blade comes off and spirals towards you and then skewers you. One of the issues they did actually change in this release is the probability of a headshot literally killing your ship in like a couple of shots. Anyway, clearly I wasn't doing that in the Vanduul Scythe, so I wanted to check whether it was really me or that my joystick setup. So I went back to the Merlin, partly also so I could test out the chain gun on, or the Gatling gun, the Tiger Strake T19P, which it has a spool up time. But when I played this version, they had changed it so it still spools up, but it fires practically immediately. So with that extra firepower, it became a whole lot more viable, and I actually really quite enjoyed flying the Merlin around. Now, of course, to celebrate the addition of this tiny little spacecraft to the game, they have made it available in the store for $20, although Everybody that has a Constellation Andromeda will already have one built into their ship. I'm not sure who it's really aimed at because it's kind of a niche little vessel, but at its price point it is more effective than the Aurora, for example. Speaking of which, I thought it would be useful to go and actually try to fly an Aurora in combat and just see how it compares. Now remember, the Vanduul Scythe was like $300, the Aurora was, $30 or thereabouts. This is, this is a fully armed LN version, so it's actually slightly more expensive. But all the same, I was vastly more comfortable flying this thing and killing targets. Now, like all the other spacecraft, the Aurora has had some rebalancing to its thrusters and everything. The Aurora I was flying had a top speed now of 175, comparing that to the old version, which would have a speed of 150. So that's a nice improvement there. It certainly doesn't feel like the slowest thing on the block anymore. But look, I was able to obliterate these targets much faster in this basic ship. So yeah, the Scythe, it's beautiful, it's really well executed. I love the heads-up display, I love the different effects, I love the sound effects, but I cannot fly it in usefully. So if you can't afford to fly a Scythe, don't worry, it's not like it's going to be affecting your game performance in any way. I'm Scott Manley, fly safe.